Hoover Alexander, and I'm actually a homeboy, a native born here in Austin, Texas.
So what are your memorable experiences growing up here in Austin?
I grew up here on the east side, so I've got a lot of memories of all the things that are on people's tongues these days, all discussions of growth. I came through in the 60s, a time of integration and all that, so I still have early childhood memories of some of the legacy of segregation, from department stores downtown to going to some of the little barbecue joints in like Bastrop, Elgin, et cetera, where you had to go through the colored door and we sat separately and all of that. So that was early memories, but good memories of going to a Catholic school in the barrio, from primarily Hispanic. But I had a good cross-cultural experience hanging out with my homeboys in the projects to hanging out to my Mexican-American friends. So those are my early years growing up. And so saw all the growth from the little shotgun shacks, like the little houses I grew up in, to as they call them, the McMansions now, on some of the same lots here on the east side. So I work on the east side. I still live on the east side. So I've seen all the changes that have swept through here over the years.
Wow.
Urban renewal, a lot of the things we're talking about now as far as the development of 11th Street, 12th Street, so early memories of more black businesses, but still memories of black entrepreneurship growing up, including my uncle, who had Lofton's Furniture across the street from where the restaurant is on Manor Road, in fact. We called it antiques. It was some of that and some used furniture as well. And memories of like the Harlem Theater on 12th Street and Southern Dinette, a little restaurant on 11th Street. There was all the neighborhood dynamics of East Austin back in the day, and so I've seen all of that. As I mentioned, urban renewal, raising a lot of the lots and promises of redevelopment, and now wrestling with all the gentrification and things that are happening here. So I have been through the gamut of experiences here on the east side.
And is there a moment or an experience that changed your way of thinking or just how you see life?
I grew up with the elders, starting with my parents and family members, but really the neighborhood of son, life may not be fair and you may have to work twice as hard just to compete. But it was always understood that, that nose to the ground, work hard, study hard, it will pay off. And I always carry the memory still of all the adults that influenced me. They were double clutching something going on, be it working a second job at night or going to school at night, including my mother to better herself. So, and uncles that were getting their hustle on by bringing produce in from the family farm and selling it on the weekend. So I've always been inspired by work ethic and by just the ethics of doing the right thing, working hard, and really try to carry all of those memories. So not necessarily a specific event, but really the collective of people who have inspired me by working hard and just good family values, good neighborhood values, take care of your neighbor values. Those kind of, run through me.
What would you say are some of your challenges that you've had to deal with in life?
I have learned that life is not linear. Memories of even like a 17-year-old freshman at UT, having my game plan, how things are going to be by 25, by 30. And so what I've learned is life is not a straight line, but there's some zigs, there's some zags. But the bitter has really taught me to appreciate the sweet. And detours, or for me, that I look back on are life lessons. And some people interpret things as failures or things that are unsuccessful, but I really, really look back on events and things in my life prepare me to open up the next door, to take the next challenge. And so as a business person and reaching back to black entrepreneurs from my childhood, I really think back on black businesses that had to exist they existed because out of necessity, because they had to, because of
Right.
segregation. And
Right.
so my deal is now the blueprint I like to leave would be to inspire folk to be entrepreneurs because they want to versus they have to. And one of the big lessons for me as a business person, as an entrepreneur, is to not accept no. Don't take no for an answer. Be a little bit stupid, a little bit crazy, a little bit stubborn, but no is a temporary thing. It's not the omega in the end of your journey. So I always, as every challenge I meet, I remind myself of that. I wake up every morning. I tell folk I reset my compass to gratitude and let the day and get on with the day. And there's going to be bumps in it. There's going to be unexpected events, but the challenges I try to, and I pray about translating those into lessons and, unlocking the next door to walk through. That keeps me going, and that attitude and inspiration keeps me going.
That's awesome. So did you always know that you were going to go to college?
I always knew I was going to go to college, but I tell folk that I was kind of like going through a maze of electives, not quite sure where. So the process of elimination, never had I planned on making the restaurant business a career. But, yeah, it was understood. My mother and father, they worked that extra job to pay for Catholic school for me and my brother. And one advantage also, because I'm a December baby, so it allowed me to start school a year early. But they always, like parents over the years and over the generations, always wanted better and easier for their child. So it was understood, and all the environment I grew up in, from the neighborhood to the church that I grew up in, everyone saw the potential. And one of the things I had to wrestle with and reconcile is, like so many of my contemporaries, is you're carrying the hopes and dreams of a generation before you on your shoulders, right? So, yeah, that was understood. What I would do in life wasn't. So I dabbled in everything, doing some law classes. It took 9 or 12 hours of Bible class, business, et cetera, et cetera. I ended up where I'm at I tell people in hindsight, my parallel training was at a restaurant, Nighthawk Restaurants. My stepfather got me a job my second semester, and I started out on the bottom, bussing tables, washing dishes, and over the years it became my on-the-job training. And when I pretty much kind of eliminated, I couldn't see my mindset being into a cubicle or necessarily the confines of an 8-to-5 corporate deal. Kind of at one point a light bulb went off, and I thought, oh man, I do have these skills, and basically set my mind to, again, that entrepreneur course of, one day I want to be an owner of a business, and I want to use the restaurant experience as a vehicle to get there. So that's what kind of put me off course, but back on course, you know what I mean, at the same time, if that makes sense.
And so that's how you got into the food industry? Yeah,
just literally just kind of that thirst for knowledge still was in my craw and still is, but wanting to learn stuff. So even like when I was a busboy, I remember there was a Iranian Russian bartender that great guy, and back in those days a good chunk of the folk that I work with were students and grad students, et cetera, and he was, in his case, he was a grad student at UT. But even when it was slow and I was a busboy, I would take notes and learn like bar drinks and watch what he was doing, and would go home and take empty bottles and practice my pour timing, et cetera. And so it really was just kind of, again, not planning on making a career, but just wanting to learn and wanting to learn something different. It led me to the front of the house things, but also the back of the house, learning from the old school cooks that we call chefs now, before everybody was glorified and blah, blah, blah. But one of my examples that I always think about, well, first of all, my mother, still my first cooking inspiration. She tells people when I was knee high and watching her and hanging out in the kitchen. She didn't know the boy was paying attention. But one of the guys, Mr. Leon Harris at Nighthawk, he knew me since I was knee high. And when I first came there, I'll never forget, he was a pipe smoker, and he was on the back dock, and he was like, Hoover Jr., boy, I knew you. I used to slop hogs with your daddy. And so, and I think about him because he had like a third or fourth grade education, but a very smart man. And he was literal enough to read the Bible and memorize a few recipes, and that was about it. But he took me under his wing, among others there at the Nighthawk. But he was the guy that first learned, just that commercial stuff, baking and making gumbo and sauces and that whole bit. And so he was definitely a mentor of mine. Again, not planning on what God intended ultimately, but just that thirst for knowledge and learning and appreciating what he did and what he was doing. So I had a lot of those folk in my life back in the Nighthawk days that opened up from the Iranian Russian dude to Mr. Leon in the back. And those memories carry those torches forward, and want to honor all of those that prepared me for what I'm doing now. And particularly the ones in the back, the old black chefs that were the unheralded, unrecognized chefs, because there was no glory back in the day. And in fact, one of the things that I really gave me incredible joy a few years ago when long story short, but to do the cliff notes on it, we presented some oral histories at Carver and invited some of the old guys still around that some of them still work at the remaining Nighthawk Frisco shop. And just hearing about them going back, bursting with pride, seeing themselves being interviewed by an audience, and really seeing some self-worth in what they've done for 50-plus years. So all those memories, all those folk I honor, as well as my relatives, my mother's people from the country east of Austin and the family farm, and my father's side that were the black ranchers and hunters and living off the land, and all those things that they did that are now cool and hip, and people give names like farm to table and all that, but that was their lifestyle. So I just kind of like carry all of those memories forward in what I do now, what I try to represent, make them proud, make their memories shine on forward.
And how do you think people will remember you?
I know what I want to do, and this is what keeps me going. I would like my legacy to be a blueprint of what's possible, of hopes and dreams and hard work and translate into success. I hope that I can leave a blueprint of telling folks there's more than one way to skin the cat, to give people examples of hope and possibility to perhaps be entrepreneurs. And that could be everything from what I'm doing to a maid service to dry cleaning, whatever. Of course, all the technical fields that are available and possible. So really to leave a blueprint, to be an example, if I can leave that legacy of possibility, that's my hope. That's what kind of drives me. And I hope that some of that spills out as far as what people see and observe. And I am amazed that people that I hadn't worked with in years, and people of all colors, they remember interacting with me when I was doing the bar nightclub thing on 6th Street or doing something else, and they have memories of being I'm a corporate blah, 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 and I'm a lawyer now, and I'm this and that. That really affected me, and that really carried me. So I tell folks, try to keep it simple, mutual respect of people of all colors and of all positions in life, trying to live by the golden rule. And sometimes I slip, and I ain't perfect, but if I can be remembered as someone who tries to do the right thing, meant to do the right thing, lent a helping hand, leave my little piece of the dirt, of the earth, better than when I found it, I hope that people see that, and I hope that is my legacy after all is said and done, when the book is closed on me.
So what do you think is your place or your purpose in life?
I'm constantly analyzing, and sometimes to a point of overthinking, but I went through this, I went through that. and I know it's creating a purpose and a direction for the what next. And I really believe in my mind that I can do what I'm doing as a ministry of hope and a ministry of possibility. And I do my little prayer meditation thing daily and just try to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. The more and more I buy into, I think that is what God intended, to be that example. And another thing, this slice of time that we're in right now and the troubled times that we're in, and in so many ways we've gone backwards as far as, say, race relationships. And everybody's into their, I'm a Crip, you're a Blood. And so when I look back on, and I think about that more and more, I mentioned to you early years of from the hood, we're going to an integrated Catholic school, primarily Hispanic, but we also had a few Anglos whose parents were stationed at Bergstrom Air Force Base at the time. And then mid-'60s, a few Cubano refugees. So when I look back on the dynamics of race relationships now, and some of my best friends don't look like me, some of the ones that my most trusted relationships don't look like me. And one of my probably my oldest, dearest best friend, who chose, long story short, to take his life last year, and he was another Nighthawk connection. And at his memorial, his family wanted me to be part of the family, and I said it was family by choice, by invitation, not by blood. And one of the memories and part of what I shared with them and other people is we were very unlike, just by the boxes that were shaped in and colored, the color of our box, the shape of our box. But he was 8 years younger than me. He's a 15-year-old little punk kid. I was in college. He's a tall, lanky, awkward white boy. And we ended up being best friends, and he was our San Antonio partner when we had a restaurant, down there. And very unlikely friends. I thought I was a cool, hip, smooth R&B cat, and he was like heavy metal, rock and roll, long-haired, blah, blah, blah. And so you peel back what people at first blush say is unalike and realize he was my brother, and he had my back, I had his. So part of what I think as I look at, like, God, what do you intend for me is perhaps and I've often gone into scenarios where I have, like, busted stereotypes of what a black man should be, including one of my managers still, his mother died in the capital, once dubbed the capital of hate and of the KKK, Vidor, Texas. And he asked me to be a pallbearer, and everybody was, like, worried and this and that. But I had an opportunity to break up a stereotype. And even my friend who took his own life, the short story is Christmas Eve, picking him up from the airport, dropping him off, and met his very racist 90-something-year-old grandfather.
Wow.
And the only black people that he experienced in small town East Texas was those that came through the back door who were servants. And I was the first black person to eat at a table with him. Found out later that my friend's father said, "Daddy, Tom's bringing over his best friend, black friend, and I don't want you using nigger." So he had to, like, coach him on don't say nigger.
Right,
I found this out later, and Warren Moon is playing on TV, and when I was out of the room, he's like, "That nigger quarterback." Anyway, here's one thing that stuck with me. At the end of that meal, Christmas Eve, his grandfather, racist man, he came up to me and said, "Hoover, if you're half the man my grandson and his parents say you are, then there is hope for the world." It blew my mind. I did not know context of what I just shared with you till, like, days later or the next day. But anyway, so my point being, I think one of God's intentions are for me to defy stereotypes, break stereotypes, and including, like, even trying to be a business person. I've been accused of I'm laundering drug money because, blah, 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 blah. If I can put some healing balm on the world in my own little way, my own part of the world, and break some of the stereotypes, that's another check off of my list, mission accomplished. And I do think there's some divine purpose as I look at who've influenced me in the path I've been on to be able to preach without preaching, walk the walk as best I can, and just open up some eyes wherever I go. And it's not always conscious. Sometimes, like I said, it's an after the fact feedback loop, like, oh, okay, I didn't know I touched you like that. So that's what I think part of my purpose and intent on this world is, and the timing, to say the least, is much needed right now.